Candace Owens is a big name in conservative politics, and although I'm trying to steer away from politics and toward my Christian faith on this channel, the issue that is Candace Owens is one I feel needs to be addressed, and it has to do with the Christian faith. Candace Owens, at this very moment, is not acting worthy of her calling as a Christian. And I think it's imperative for the Christian community to react to that fact. And I even think that Christians widely should stop watching Candace, to enter out of community with her. She continues on the path she is currently walking. And don't worry, I will provide scriptural reasons for these claims. In one of my last videos, I mentioned that Charlie Kirk's death sparked a revival in America. I myself became more inculcated in my Christian faith after this event, and several people I know credit Charlie's martyrdom as a turning point in their faith. His death changed things. For the first time, many young people took a hard look at their faith. Politics aside, that is a beautiful thing. But I'm frustrated, and I'm genuinely sad. This momentum, this movement, is now steeped in ugly conspiracy after ugly conspiracy. And most of the conspiracies are coming from one figure, Candace Owens. I was very nervous about making this video. I enjoy Candace Owens. I've made several videos about her and even started a series where I've been deep diving into some of her wildest and most interesting conspiracy theories. I found her exposés on the deep state and the CIA to be interesting and informative, and much of my audience are Candace fans. Some subscribed specifically because of the coverage I've given Candace on this channel. But oftentimes the gospel, the Christian walk, is presented as a stumbling block, something that causes a conflict between believers and the rest of the world. So even though I may potentially anger some of my audience by calling out Candace's blatantly unchristian behavior, I believe I'm called to speak truth, and I'm actually called to speak truth more clearly and more harshly toward believers and people in my own camp than those who aren't already guided by the light of the gospel. I also think it would be hypocritical of me to make videos talking about how much Charlie Kirk's legacy affected me and how inspirational I found him, but stay silent when his wife is being lambasted with accusations that she had a hand in his death.
Straight to jail, Erica.
If I were Charlie, I would tell people who cherished my legacy, please look after my wife, look after my kids. And you might be saying, sure, I relate, but I think Erica Kirk had a hand in this thing. And honestly, again, I'm trying not to get too political, but let's say for the sake of argument that there is enough circumstantial evidence that we can at least discuss this as a possibility. If there's even a slight chance that she didn't have anything to do with her husband's death, don't you think we ought to afford her a little grace and err on the side of caution, since we don't know for sure? But there's more than just a slight chance that she was uninvolved. We have the murder weapon. We have the murderer. We have the motive. I'm going to go off on a limb here and say that the chance that Erica Kirk had nothing to do with this situation is much higher than slight. Now, I'll give you what you really came here for. I could argue morality and virtue signal things all day, but really what I think is most convincing and most important for our conversation is what the scripture would have to say about a situation like this. What would Jesus and the apostles do? I can't, for example, picture Jesus watching someone dancing to gangster rap music in whiteface to mock a grieving widow and laughing with joy at it. That feels completely unchristian and bears none of the fruits of the Spirit, like love, kindness, or gentleness. Jesus told us the test of a false prophet, which I think we can apply to Christians who have a large audience, who claim to act in the name of truth and in the name of God, as Candace sometimes does. He says, by their fruits you shall know them. After all, no good tree bears bad fruit. The Apostle Paul, right before listing the fruits of the Spirit, some of them I just mentioned, actually lists the fruits of the flesh, which include but are not limited to jealousy, hatred, discord, factions, dissensions. And in Ephesians 4, verse 29, Paul says that a believer is not to allow any unwholesome talk to come out of his mouth. The Greek word used here is sapros, which directly translates to rotting, something that decays or eats away at a natural state. Many scholars take the Greek word sapros to mean gossip. So I guess let me ask, and I'm genuinely asking, in all fairness, whether you agree with me or not, or whether you're not really sure. Has Candace Owens' Bride of Charlie series been more emblematic of the fruits of the Spirit or the fruits of the flesh? Have we seen love, gentleness, and peace, or discord, factions, dissensions, and gossip? And you could easily say any truth teller, any person who goes against the status quo and pursues the truth is going to come up against opposition. It isn't that person's fault that there's a discord. They're just confronting a genuine instance of corruption or injustice, and bad things result from the pursuit of truth in a fallen world. Maybe Candace is simply confronting Erica Kirk or whoever she believes did this because she isn't super clear, at least that I've seen, about exactly who or what is responsible. And to that, I would say, okay, we can agree to disagree on that because I don't think there's enough evidence to confront anyone but Tyler Robinson, the guy who actually did it. But if we assume that a confrontation needs to happen, how does the biblical narrative say that this should happen? And to be clear, the biblical corpus would allow for civil authorities to handle criminal cases and investigations. So we're not talking about a criminal confrontation here. But Candace Owens is a Christian, and so is Erica Kirk. So if a confrontation needed to happen, how should a believer, according to Scripture, confront another believer? Jesus himself actually gives us the answer to this question. He says in Matthew chapter 18, verses 15 through 17, if your brother or sister sins, go and point out their fault, just between the two of you. If they listen, you have won them over. But if they will not listen, take one or two others along, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. If they still refuse to listen, tell it to the church. And if they refuse to listen even to the church, treat them as you would a pagan or a tax collector. So I guess the question is, did Candace Owens bring this issue to Erica Kirk directly? Did she lovingly come forth with her concerns in private? And did Erica Kirk refuse to listen? And did Candace return with other believers in an attempt to bring Erica back from her sin? After this, did Candace Owens ask for the intermediacy of a neutral church body? Or did she post unfounded gossip online without any consistent good faith efforts to set this right? Ironically, I think we can apply the same scripture to Candace, but she has been corrected. Nearly everyone in her life, her old coworkers, conservatives, people outside of her echo chamber have consistently pointed out how wayward these accusations are. And she has doubled down with the rhetoric, doubled down with the accusations. If Candace Owens doesn't stop with this, is it really that unreasonable to ask Christians to take the words of Jesus seriously here? To treat Candace as we would a pagan or a tax collector? Titus 3, chapters 9 through 11, is an instance where Paul also navigates this question of how to handle a believer with regards to foolish controversies, examinations of endless genealogies, which Candace ironically delves into a lot, and quarrels about the law. He says to warn a divisive person once, then a second time, and after that, if they do not listen, have nothing to do with them, because you can be assured that this person is warped and self-condemned. Candace, please, for the love of God, come home. Quit causing division, especially when this division has hurt something as beautiful as a revival that sprung out of the life, devotion, and martyrdom of your friend, Charlie Kirk. And Christians watching this video, you're not going to hell if you continue to watch the entertaining slop that Candace puts out. I myself have been guilty of that. But personally, I've decided until she repents, I will have nothing to do with her. If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing. My goal with this channel is to make content that will edify, educate, defend, and strengthen the Christian community. And as I do that, I often navigate politics on both sides of the political aisle and ask the question, where should a Christian stand? I'll catch you next time.